Here's Brody Brazil.
I kind of can't believe I've been on Twitter almost 14 years, and I've sent more than 40,000 tweets. And so because of that, it's been a bit shocking for people to ask me in recent days and weeks, are you going to stay on Twitter? Are you going to stick with this platform? Because there has been so much change, not just in terms of people, but procedures on the platform. I don't really know where it's going. So the answer straight away is, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm watching it a lot more closely than I ever have before, but we could see change for the better, or obviously the worse, or we could just see change and it doesn't mean anything necessarily. I'm not sure where all of this is headed in the next 6 months, or 6 weeks, or a year, or 2 years, or whatever. But I do understand why people are asking the question right now, is Twitter done? That largely remains to be seen. And again, using prior examples of like MySpace and the demise of Facebook, you can't rule it out that Twitter could be at an ultimate tipping point that might send it to the very end, or the end as we know it. And that's kind of my point here. What does done mean? Done as we know it? Actually, probably right now it is. You lay off half of the workforce. Elon Musk comes in, buys it. I mean, it is a dramatic takeover. I cannot imagine what that was like on the inside. A quick transition, you blink, people getting laid off mid-meeting that they were in. The other changes, like on the platform, paying for verification all of a sudden, that's a huge deal. Some people see it as a novelty, but it's actually a drastic change to security on the platform, authenticity on the platform. More on that in just a second. Other changes coming actually for the good. The ability to post longer text and longer video clips. I mean, I think those are great abilities and options, and I think that actually turns Twitter for the better. More on that also still to come. And how about monetization for creators? That's something that YouTube and Instagram and even Facebook have started to do and do a lot better over the years. You need to have some incentive for people to stay on Twitter and actually put their best material and work on Twitter. Otherwise, there's not as much of a connection for creators. Yes, you love your audience, and yes, it is an opportunity to connect with your people, so to speak. But when monetization kicks in, there's a whole different motivation for the platform. Okay, so yes, Twitter might be done as we previously knew it, but here's the biggest part of it too. Content moderation. When Elon Musk comes in, there's the worry that all of a sudden one person is literally making all the decisions, not just from a business standpoint, but from an operation standpoint. What should we allow? What should our rules be? How should they change? There's a lot of gray area here. First off, there's a lot of things that are black and white that aren't seen black and white. But there's also a lot of gray area that's also difficult to sift through and establish. So a new council has been established for content moderation, or that's in the process. And this council is going to be made up of individuals with widely diverse viewpoints. Now, I understand why that would be suggested. You don't want it to be all one train of thought. You don't want this to be a council of all like-minded people so that Twitter becomes a narrow and hollow place. I totally understand that. I'm just a little bit worried about widely diverse viewpoints in a sense that if there is a spectrum of viewpoints, and most people think, between this range, and some people think between this range, there's also some people that are way out here. And I feel like the Elon Musk way of doing things is to take the widest viewpoints possible, the craziest over here, the craziest over here, and think that, some of that's going to even out in the middle, instead of saying, let's just keep it right here. And this feels good. Every side represented. And again, this isn't just a left and a right. Think of it like a 360, but let's tighten it up a little bit, because that has been Twitter's problem, I think, is it got a little bit out of hand. It's so wide in different places. And I don't mean opinions and viewpoints, but I mean like taking things too seriously. And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, but you understand my point. Content moderation, yes, widely diverse viewpoints, but also hopefully a streamlined course of what you're hoping the platform can be. So remains to be seen with content moderation what's around the corner. What is allowed? What is Twitter responsible for? People can post anything they want, sometimes dangerous, sometimes not in good taste. Who gets to decide that taste? Who knows? We'll see where this goes. And again, I don't think Twitter was ever perfect. Let's establish that. Elon Musk was able to buy Twitter. Twitter's board allowed this to happen. He didn't steal it from them. They sold it to him. Right? So Twitter was already in an interesting spot already, and I don't mean just in a business sense. Was Twitter perfect? The bullying, the baiting, the trolling. I mean, Twitter was not perfect already. So change is okay. Elon wants to come in. He wants to make it different. I'm okay with change. I hope it's for the better. Change is okay. Worse is not okay. To come in and think that this is a $44 billion game and you're just going to throw things at the wall and see what sticks, like the check mark thing. You're messing around with people's livelihoods, with problems they'll have to deal with. This is not, Twitter is a virtual place, but these are real people and real things that come from Twitter. So I'm not here to say that Twitter is something that's being destroyed. It may have already been in its downfall. I hope this does not accelerate it. I hope this can reverse it. So let's get to one of the biggest things here, verification. And I'm speaking as somebody who has had that blue check more than a decade. I think in 2012, I got verified. I was literally one of the, not first wave. There were a lot of people ahead of me, but yeah, I've had it for a long time, a lot more. I've had it a lot longer than most. But I do have to admit, in the 10-year span, the first 5 years, yeah. Like I say here, blue checks aren't for status. 10 years ago, the blue check was for status because I feel like not as many people used social media, but used Twitter for all of their news and information. So it kind of didn't matter as much. I would say in the last 5 years, blue checks have nothing to do with status anymore. It has to do with, is this person authentic who they say they are, representing something that is supposed to be legitimate? And like even when I got verified, I still remember this back in 2012. I had to send in multiple forms of identification and they cross-checked it and it wasn't open to anybody. They sought me out, I believe. I'm trying to remember how it happened. But the point here being that there was like a legitimate process. You didn't just pay $8 a month and get the check and proclaim to be anything that you want to be. Without a baseline of what verification is, what can be trusted? Nothing. Like, again, I'm not here to deny that at one point, blue checks were for status. I think that's true. I should know. I was there. 2012, 13, 14, whatever, 15, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Verification is for authenticity. It's an important part of Twitter. And now that anybody can do it, it literally is crazy. You could imitate a large company that is announcing insulin is free. That was fake. Pepsi saying Coke is better. That is fake. But the problem here is that the average user on Twitter either scrolls through it so fast or is not savvy enough to read through the lines and understand, that's not a real account. That's not a real account. And these days, when you see some news, you're not even shocked by it anymore because you're kind of used to things that are this crazy lately. This is the way, like, social media has desensitized us to seeing things like this. You're like, oh, okay, that happened. It's kind of shocking, not going to change my day, but okay. But this isn't even real. Anybody can do this. Anybody could have got on Twitter Blue. I understand they've changed it since then. Like they've suspended this, but this is a great meme, right? You can still click on the check mark and see how the person obtained it, whether they're notable in government, news, entertainment, or another designated category, or if they were subscribed to Twitter Blue. But again, I don't know that everybody's doing that. So what does all that even mean? Here's some things I know about Twitter that are going to be hard for the platform to change. Number one, way too many people only read the headlines. It's going to be hard for Twitter to change in a sense that, oh, I see that headline. How do I actually learn about that story instead of just taking the headline and thinking that I already know the story start to finish? I mean, I'll be honest. I'm guilty of that sometimes, and you probably are too. Oh, that's the headline. Okay, got that. Okay, I've got 5 things in 5 seconds. Did you actually read it? I know that's not going to change on Twitter anytime soon. It would make the platform a lot better and a lot more valuable. But how can Twitter incentivize reading the news instead of just reading the headlines? I would also say another thing I know about Twitter is fact checking is not widespread. Again, oh, I see that on there. Oh, blue check mark. Or, oh, a lot of retweets. Must be true. A lot of retweets. That is such a bad way. Like, even in the 80s, just because a lot of people are saying something doesn't make it true. It had to come out of the mouth of Dan Rather, Walter Cronkite. You know what I'm saying? Like, it had to come from a source. Nowadays, Twitter is our source, and if a lot of people are sharing it, must be true. Not still the case. And also lots of bullying and trolling and anonymous. And you know what? If verification could verify actual real people, and if paying a little bit of money made a lot of that nonsense go away, okay. Actually, Twitter might have a lot less users, but if it became a real place for conversation because that $8 a month deterred a lot of people to just say, you know what, it's not worth it. I'm not going to troll I'm not going to pay $8 a month to troll. Maybe it's better. Again, though, you're closing the doors to a lot of people who don't want to pay, can't afford to pay. So that's also got to be considered here. Elon Musk has kind of really gone right after traditional news media, journalism. I'll pick out 2 tweets here from the 11th of November. As Twitter pursues the goal of elevating citizen journalism, media elite will try everything to stop that from happening. Mainstream media will still thrive, but increased competition from citizens will cause them to be more accurate as their oligopoly on information is disrupted. Let me just address that real quick. Citizen journalism is no doubt one of the important parts of Twitter, because if I have a video that I shot on my phone that, is something I couldn't do 10 years ago, and I could share it with the world instantly, and it looks authentic, okay, then this is a new way of disseminating information quickly, and it tells a story. There's not much context that needs to be added to something. Like if I've got a photo that is very, clear cut, or a video that, sets a scene. All right, that is citizen journalism. But the problem here is that citizens are not trained journalists. And so sometimes they'll put out something, not even intentionally, that's not accurate or not what it appears to be. It'll get shared as it appears to be, and it's still not accurate. And then it's already run away with before the traditional media goes back, circles, fact checks, and says, that's not actually what you think you saw, or that's not actually it. Here's why. So the problem here is that, like, citizen journalism still doesn't have appropriate, responsibility. We're not at that stage of civilization yet. I mean, I hope it does. It'd be great if it eventually did. Maybe it never will. So you're promoting citizen journalism, elevating it is great. Twitter's a great platform for that. But it's still not perfect in a sense of responsibility and ownership of what you're putting out there. What's the ramification for literally false reporting on Twitter? People forget about it 24 hours later, and then that's it. You get a clean slate. If news organizations do that on a consistent basis, they're done. They're toast. They have a reputation. Citizen journalists don't necessarily have that. So I'm going to disagree with Elon here in a sense that, yeah, mainstream media will thrive, but they're going to have to do so much more legwork to fix the citizen journalism, to try and verify it, and then this has always been going on, right? This is not new, but it's hard. This is very hard to get right so that what he's thinking is going to happen here is not actually in line. It's not the way it's been, and it's really hard to change that course. Okay, so let's actually try and end on a positive here, because I'm not somebody who has spent 14 years and 40,000 tweets on Twitter hoping that it sinks like a ship. I want to see this platform do well. I still think there's so much possibility and capability that's even untapped yet. I hope we can get there. We haven't been there, and we're not necessarily going in the right direction up to today, let's say. So, Twitter improvements. How could it get better? Number one, if you're Elon Musk and you know a lot about artificial intelligence, could you implement some of that into the platform to help identify terms of service violations? I'm talking about trolling, harassment, bullying, racism, all of the above. It's hard for human beings to sift through every one of the, 10 million tweets a minute or whatever it is. Like, that's impossible. You'll never catch up. But could bots do that? Could Twitter artificial intelligence sift through accounts, identify a violation, identify repeat violations, identify how to enforce repeat rule offenders? Like what do we do here? Like, there's always going to be gray area. Well, this person crossed the line a little bit here, or they crossed the line a lot. And they do cross it a lot. It's hard to figure out where to set the rules because, again, it's not as concrete as you might think. A lot of gray area here with what people do on Twitter and how they act. So could artificial intelligence, number one, quickly identify and remove things from the platform that are not supposed to be there? And also, could it help instantly enforce rules and maybe offer discipline to repeat offenders? Could it do that? I also think the other thing here that humans could do on Twitter is verify each other. I'm totally okay with everybody that wants a blue check mark having it, but it better be tied to you, your face, your real name, maybe even your credit card, maybe an address, an email address, a physical address, a phone number. Give us something. To think that you hop on Twitter, get the blue check, and you still get to be anybody you want on any given day, like that's not it. What comes with it is, this is me, this is what I'm saying, this is what I'm doing, this is my reputation that comes with the check. So anybody can have it. As far as I care, this should not be an exclusive club, but it does need to come with you giving your identity out there. So verify humans, but also this, I would say, make official accounts official. We've started to see that second check where it literally says official. Give that to everybody who has responsibly shown that they are official in some capacity, right? So I think that's probably the evolution here. I know it was kind of a messy launching point to get to that. Hopefully that is the ultimate step here. Verify as many people as you want. Humans versus bots. Let's identify real humans with real names, real images. That's great. And not everybody has to do that, but if you want to take that step, welcome to the club. And let's also make official accounts official. So, is Twitter done? Yeah, the old Twitter is. We're in the new Twitter, for sure. So some of it's done. My best wishes, by the way, to everybody that was laid off and affected by that. But ultimately, in the bigger picture, I don't know if I'll be done anytime soon. Not now. Again, not leaving anytime soon. I'm also going to make a video here in the near future on how much Twitter could owe its users in back pay. If content is valuable, how much has my content been worth over 14 years? Save that for the next time. See you then.